Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my various co-hosts, Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And since we just had the Super Bowl, these are Super Bowl kind of odd, hard questions. All right.
Super Bowl odd,
hard questions. Yeah, and I gotta apologize ahead of time. What was Johnny Unitas's favorite color? I mean, come on, that's gonna be a hard one. No. All right. So, in addition to the Super Bowl, there's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. With the Olympics, the doping scandal of a young lady, an American.
Are you talking about the Russian skater?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the American-born skier is competing for China, but China doesn't allow dual citizenship, so she had to renounce her U.S. citizenship. So what are the complications? What goes on with that?
And of course, where does she live? San Francisco. Of course.
Of course. Yeah. Well, outside of China, San Francisco has the biggest Chinese population in the world, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then. Did you see about Eric Dickerson? He was given seats to the Super Bowl, right? But they were kind of like in the rafters, and so he just said, "You know what? I'm going to watch it on TV instead."
Well, it's a big stadium. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been there, but it is a huge stadium, and so if you're up there, I mean, you are up there. But there's monitors everywhere. I mean, you might as well. I mean, it's just flat screen. I mean, everywhere you turn. I mean, you get this great picture of what's going on.
He handled it very well. He seems like a very humble guy. And rather than, chew them out for not giving him the best seat in the house, he just kind of said, for that, I'll just go ahead and watch it on TV. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Jackman. Okay, obviously, let's start off with the Super Bowl. Now, I wrote down everyone's predictions, okay? Now, I was the only one who did believe that the Rams were going to win, so I voted with my head and not my heart. My head told me the Rams would win. My heart was a little bit more for the Bengals.
Okay.
However, I thought that the Rams were going to win 37-17, so my numbers were way off. But you guys were all fairly close with the score. You just had the wrong team. So Vern thought it was going to be 28-27 Bengals. FP thought it was going to be 28-24 Bengals. And Russ thought it was going to be 27-24 Bengals. This is almost like The Price is Right, where you have to kind of get it right in there. And
where's Bob Barker?
Yeah, that's right. And the final score was 23-20. 23-20. So, boy, I don't know. I think Mr. Russell was. We're going to give him the prize. I get the prize because he was wrong.
You picked the right team.
How do you get the prize if you guess the wrong team?
Yeah, exactly. So I get the prize on that one. All right.
If I was doing the over/under, if we were doing the over/under, though, I would have gotten that picture.
That's true. That's true.
Do you think we need, on the subject of that? And FP, just go ahead and jump in. I mean, don't we need to pump the brakes a little bit on coronating Matthew Stafford? My God, I mean, they made it sound like he was, like the next big thing coming on the heels of winning that Super Bowl. We all know that Cooper Kupp was the best. Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald were the best guys on the field.
I mean, Matthew Stafford.
I mean, he had to put it there. But Kupp was almost always open.
Yeah, exactly. And he threw 2 interceptions. I mean, if you look at their stats, Joe Burrow had a better game. Straight up did. Yeah. I mean, three TD passes is pretty good for Matthew Stafford, but with the weapons he was working with in his O-line, I mean, that's not really impressive. If you gave Joe Burrow the same weapons, I think Joe Burrow has 4 touchdowns with no interceptions. So.
I wonder if also because Matthew, a few games earlier, was just, throwing the ball all over the place. He wasn't that pinpoint, whereas there were a couple of really good passes this time. And so maybe that's where they were kind of like, holy gosh, where'd this guy come from?
I think the one thing that went viral was his no-look pass, and that kind of crowned him. And it's funny with this information age and how Twitter is here and the highlight packages you see, the no-look pass up the middle on the game-winning drive to Cooper Kupp just went viral, and everybody's crowning him the greatest thing ever. And, Richard Sherman came out and said, hold on, pump your brakes. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
No.
And I kind of agree how Richard Sherman pretty much stated that the Hall of Fame is getting pretty soft in the NFL. And I can't even name more than half the guys in the NFL Hall of Fame and the Football Hall of Fame. So, I mean, I think he's got a point. Every single year somebody gets in, I'm like, I don't know a thing about who that is.
Well, I think also him coming from
first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. If you want to sell me on the narrative that Matthew Stafford labored for 9 years in Detroit, couldn't win a playoff game, okay, and he joins this Rams team, and in 1 year they go to the Super Bowl, fine, I will buy that. If you want to sell me on the fact that maybe Stafford's an upgrade over Jared Goff, okay, I can buy that. But to just crown him like right now, I'm like, whoa, come on.
I mean, it's not like Brady, who came from New England with a really good team and went to Tampa Bay, which was a good team, but to win the Super Bowl with them. Matthew coming from the Lions, who they really just couldn't give him the support. He had a good team to come with. When he went to the Rams. Compared to, let's say, if Jared Goff had taken the Lions and won the Super Bowl, then I could see you really kind of elevating that.
I thought Goff did a great job with the Lions too, with what he had. I mean, I thought they overachieved a lot in Detroit this season, even though the record didn't show it. They should have won more games, straight up. But guys, I have to ask you this question: what was the one thing that you'll take away that you'll always remember from the Super Bowl? Because for me, it was the flags within 2 minutes at the end of the fourth quarter, all of a sudden being thrown. I'll always remember that.
Well, you know what? The one thing that I kind of go back and forth with is how Ramsey, him getting his head turned around was obviously pass interference that didn't get called. And so the Bengals got a touchdown for it. So it kind of sort of came out. In the first quarter,
you could see T. Higgins actually get pulled by Jalen Ramsey, and he was being held as well. That should have been a touchdown. Remember that very last play in that drive when they were in the red zone? I mean, you can go back and forth all day. The thing that really upset me about this game is that a precedent was set. There was no calls all game. There's actually only 4 flags called previously to those other 4 flags being thrown within the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. And what was crazy is one of them was somebody that was inactive came onto the field. So you're not calling flags all game. You're letting the boys play. It's great football. It's great drama. It's going to be 4th and 8, and all of a sudden you see a late holding flag that on a play that was well played.
The penalties that offset that one?
No, I'm talking about the holding before, but that one was also pretty suspect as well. It was just really weird. And guys, for me, it's becoming more I guess what I want to say is you could see, like, based on the reaction of those flags being called at the end of the game, that there's a lot of trust being lost by the NFL just because of maybe there's like more relationships with gambling than ever before, and more people are questioning if the NFL is rigged, and there's a lot of questions starting to pop up because it almost did feel like it was scripted. You know what I mean? It kind of did, even though I'm not saying it was. It just kind of felt like it was scripted. Like, you knew the Rams were going to win there no matter what.
Well, you'll never get anybody to come on camera to confirm that.
No.
And secondly, my big takeaway, I like a good story. I'm a reporter. That's what I do. So you give me a good human interest story, I'm in. I did like the story of Aaron Donald. I did like him making that play and then pointing to his ring finger. Go ahead and put a ring on it after all this time in the NFL. I did like that. I did like the story of the defensive back whose wife went into labor. He couldn't even join in the celebration because he went straight to the hospital to be there for the birth of his second child. Those are the stories that I like. And off the field, or I guess maybe in the middle of the field, I enjoyed the halftime show. Could have done without 50 Cent. I would have liked more of some of the other guys, but I get it. 50 Cent is a Dr. Dre product, so you got to get him in there. But
you had to have him in there because it was after 2 quarters. That's why you had to have 50 Cent in there, right?
Very nice. You're here all week. Thank you.
Well, I the play that Aaron Donald made on 3rd down, I mean, one arm to get them, just before, I think, a yard before they would have gotten the first down. I mean, that was a major play. And I'm kind of surprised when Burrow was getting tackled for the fourth down, he was smart enough to realize, hey, I got to get rid of this ball. It almost looked like the Bengals received, I think it was a halfback. It looked like he could have at least dove for the ball.
I think at that point, Burrow was scrambling, and receivers and backs, I mean, they're just looking to just get open. I mean, it's now or never time. So I forgive everybody just trying to.
It's tough. Okay, guys, we're going to cut to
make a play, and it just didn't happen.
All right, we're going to cut to our first trivia question, talking about odd Super Bowl questions here. What distinction does Trent Dilfer, who quarterbacked the Ravens over the New York Giants in Super Bowl 35, hold? Like I said, these are kind of a little bit odd. What distinction does Trent Dilfer have?
Okay. All right, I'll take a stab at it.
And I believe he's the only quarterback in history with this distinction.
Okay.
Again, it's kind of an odd question. So again, I apologize ahead of time for these odd ones. All right.
All right.
Okay. Email Edward@sportsecon101. The answer to this question. I'm not going to get any emails on this. Nobody's going to get this one. No, it's it's an interesting answer though. It is.
You never know.
You never know. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Jackman. All we need is one more, and we'll have a starting lineup for a basketball team. Okay. What distinction does Trent Dilfer, who quarterbacked the Ravens over the New York Giants in Super Bowl 35, hold?
I'm going to take a stab at it. I mean, he's coming out of left field.
Okay.
Trent Dilfer is the son-in-law of John Brody. John Brody wore number 12 that was retired by the 49ers. That's why he wears number 12.
I mean, that could have been a good. That's a good answer. It's not the one I'm looking for. It's
the only quarterback to not throw a touchdown pass and still win a Super Bowl.
No. Okay, he was the first starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl in his only season with a team.
His only season.
Season. Isn't that crazy?
Okay.
Boom. One. Again, like I said, these are kind of hard. They're interesting, but they're hard.
That's a good one, Edward.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
I guess I really probably should have changed the question to who's the only starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl in his only team. Yeah. Then I'm sorry.
In his only season.
In his only season. Yeah.
Right,
that's the one I should have done. The other two. Well, we'll see how it works. Okay. You guys want to continue on with Super Bowl? So you know what's interesting? It's like when guys are being interviewed at the end, and other guys are just kind of coming up and sort of interrupting and all this stuff. You never used to see that. Everything is become so informal nowadays, which is kind of fun. Not making it such a
well, I mean, essentially, not really involving money. I mean, for these players. A lot of them in their early 20s. I mean, this is their lottery. They've hit the lottery. They've won the Super Bowl. They've been playing a game since they were maybe as early as 5 years old, fantasizing about this. In this digital age where they've grown up, they win a game like that, they're going to react, and emotion is going to flow. I mean, the game just happened.
Yeah.
And so of course they're going to react like that instead of, oh, hang on. Make sure my hair is okay. Okay, right? Camera's rolling.
Well, no, I'm not thinking about that.
Nobody's going to do that.
No, I'm thinking about the guys who come up to like they're being interviewed on camera, and then some other guy is the one who comes over. Yeah, hey, how you doing? That was a great play.
Yeah, but a lot of them aren't even paying attention that there even is a camera right there. I mean, they're just seeing their boys, their teammates, their brothers, and they're doing bro hugs and whatnot.
Again, I'm not really bothered by it. I just noticed it. It didn't used to happen that way. It's like
how about this? It's so weird when you look at like old footage, right, of celebrations, including like walk-off home runs in baseball. Like everyone's just kind of standing around and like clapping and like raising their hands. They're not going nuts and dogpiling. They're not screaming "F yeah." dropping, you know, this bomb and that bomb. They're just like, yeah, woohoo, woohoo. And then like you see now, people are going nuts. They're cussing on camera. They're saying, sorry, or they don't even like acknowledge it. I mean, it's crazy how informal and all these emotions are coming out. And I think it shows you like how life-changing it is to actually win a Super Bowl. Like back in the day, it was like really, really cool, obviously, right? And that was like the pinnacle of the sport. But now this is like forever life-changing, like generational wealth kind of a deal. So I think you're kind of seeing the influence of money, Sports Econ 101, on how much this means to people. I mean, you could go around the rest of your life and say I was a Super Bowl champion and appear at places to speak and get paid for the rest of your life. That's it.
And how are they introduced? Super Bowl champion,
Super Bowl
FP
champion.
Santangelo.
Well,
Yeah.
I should have looked up how much does a winner get versus a loser.
I think it depends on the contract first and foremost, but I think there is like a rough bonus. I think OBJ, for example, he earned more with that Super Bowl win than his contract he had with the Rams.
Oh, speaking of OBJ, torn ACL. That means he's going to miss the entire next season as he rehabs from the knee. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, at least.
Yeah, but he has a Super Bowl ring to, look at while he's rehabbing.
Yeah.
And you know what was really peculiar was the 49ers organization, or a lot of players did at least. I shouldn't say the organization itself, but the players started a petition to get rid of turf the same day the Super Bowl happened. I don't know if you guys saw that. It got kind of media coverage a little bit.
Get it out of here. Put that synthetic grass in.
So George Kittle tweeted out before the game, about a couple hours before the game, that 28% of more knee injuries occur on artificial turf than on real turf. And again, that Rams stadium, SoFi, had artificial turf. He made one quick move, non-contact injury, boom,
over. Yep.
Gotcha.
And I agree, they need to do something about it. If you are a smart investor, if you're an owner, you got to think about protecting your assets, right? And your best assets are your OBJs, your George.
Yes, but if you have real grass, you have to pay someone to mow it, and how expensive is that?
Yeah, but you can have synthetic grass.
Afford it.
But FP's eyes go, what are you talking about?
I will say this, that turf, because I saw it. I mean, that turf is, it could just pay for itself over the years because it's so easy to manage. The moment that NFC Championship game was over, they had these tractors with like erasers that just got rid of the entire logo in both end zones and the middle of the field, and it happened within minutes. I was like, wow, look at that.
Well, the big one is the off-season revenue made from concerts, right?
Yeah.
So when there's 6 months of no football, there's 6 months of no baseball. So when you got to think about this artificial turf too, they're going to be having all these other events, and it's really replaceable to get the artificial turf off and on. With actual grass, that's a whole nother deal, and it probably costs so much money to do. So think about all the different events they got to do. So there's the rationale there. But I mean, if I'm serious about protecting players and I'm worried about players' health, I get real grass. Simple as that.
But there is some management, and this is the important point, that just think these players, for the most part, are replaceable.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe the quarterback and a couple of specialized wrestlers, linemen, replaceable.
Wide receivers, replaceable. Yeah. Yep. If quarterbacks were tearing their ACLs, then you would see grass everywhere. That's very true. That's a great point, Bryn. Very great.
When I was a teenager, they called it Day on the Green it was the Oakland Coliseum. And so, people would go like on the grass and everything, and that thing would get tore up like crazy. And that was real grass. I don't know what how quickly they could replace it.
Speaking of the Oakland Coliseum, I was there Monday night, Valentine's night, for the John Madden Memorial, and wow, that turf looked pristine for that event. I mean, a really good event, by the way, for Coach John Madden, who we lost on December 28th.
Yeah,
the groundskeepers in Oakland are the highest paid in all of sports because they had to deal with the Raiders too, and they have actually the most real estate to manage. So that you'll always see the best playing surface in Oakland, believe it or not.
Shout out Clay Wood, greenskeeper, and his crew for that one. Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to come out with a newer type of AstroTurf that has a lot more give, like grass. Because they did make an improvement when AstroTurf turf first came out, it was like cement. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
especially in baseball, you know, I would have hated to have been a third baseman or a shortstop.
I'm sure there's scientists in lab coats just testing and just
Yeah.
trying to refine this turf. I'm sure it's happening right now.
I'm sure there's an arms race that we don't even know about, just because think about the
Yeah.
highest bidder and who's going to get that. They're going to change the game forever. Like they're going to have all the AstroTurf on all the fields, that specific one. So yeah, I agree with Vern there. It's going to be an arms race.
Well, they added the version that has the plastic, the rubber dirt to it. You know, that they have the little pebbles that are supposed to help you get
tires.
traction.
I think you're trying to get away from that because it causes cancer, especially in the heat, because you're in those fumes from the rubber. You're like soaking in like in the heat. So
You know what's crazy is, you know, a tire. It's kind of the weirdest thing. If you light a tire on fire, you just leave it alone, it'll burn for years. It's the strangest thing. Yeah, I heard just a quick story of this guy who owned he owned a whole bunch of land like near Fresno and that area, and he thought, you know what, I'm just going to let people dump their tires. That I'll use the land just for that. It was acres and acres, and he charged them like half the price of what it was to get rid of tires. And so for years he just let it sit there. And what ends up happening when it rains, the water gets inside the tire, it stays stagnant, and then you had all these mosquitoes. So from a hazard standpoint, the city came down on them and said, well, you got to do something about this. We're going to charge you like $3 million. So what he decided to do was just light them all on fire, and that thing's been burning for like 20 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah,
that can't be great.
Just smoldering.
Very bad for the environment for sure. Okay, you guys ready for our hard odd question?
All right, bring it on.
All right. This is going back a little time in quarterbacks, but I was the first quarterback to lead a team to a come-from-behind Super Bowl victory, and the first quarterback to collect 3 Super Bowl rings, even though I started in only 1 Super Bowl. Wow, that's an interesting one, huh? Let me read that one more time. I was the first quarterback to lead a team to a come-from-behind Super Bowl victory, and the first quarterback to collect 3 Super Bowl rings, even though I only started in 1 Super Bowl. And I don't know. As a hint, when we come back, if you guys don't know, I'll give you his nickname. All right? Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. Edward Brown, FP Santangelo Jr., Vern Glenn, and Russell Jackman. Our second trivia question. I was the first quarterback to lead a team to a come-from-behind Super Bowl victory and the first quarterback to collect 3 Super Bowl rings, even though I only started in 1 Super Bowl. Who am I?
Was it Earl Morrall?
Yes. What was his nickname?
I don't know.
Cinderella Man.
Cinderella Man.
Yeah. So Johnny Unitas had gotten hurt, so he led the Baltimore Colts. I think he started for the Colts in that victory.
That was the victory over the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl 5.
Exactly, and then he got
16-13.
Yep, and then he got traded. That's for Jim O'Brien kicking the field goal.
Jim O'Brien kicked the game-winning field goal,
and then he
backed up Bob Greasy.
Then he got traded.
The Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, and he got the 2 there. I thought that was a pretty good one. Okay. All right. Moving on here from the Super Bowl. So Eileen Gu, GU is her last name, American-born skier, competed for China. China does not allow dual citizenship, so she had to renounce her U.S. citizenship. And I'm wondering, like, what's the long-term repercussions? Well, if you give up your passport and your net worth is less than $2 million, it's typically not an issue. But if it's more than $2 million, you have to do a fictitious sale of everything you own in the world.
What?
So that's kind of apparently the rule. I never heard that before. So, and I don't know that much more about it, but that's kind of strange. It's almost like you're giving up your identity, effectively, your American identity.
Well, this is a young lady, University High School, San Francisco. This is probably, obviously, if you're an elite athlete, you want to compete in the Olympics, and if that's the only way, then that's what you do without realizing, wow, but the consequences,
Yeah.
that's financially catastrophic.
And there's a couple of hockey players, male hockey players that are doing the same thing. I think one of them is a goalie for China. I think he was Canadian born. Yeah. So the kind of it's weird because you kind of look and you go, wait a minute, Olympics. I mean, come on, it's supposed to be from your home country. You know, and I get Eileen, you know, she's from Chinese descent. So I kind of get that. But a Canadian guy who's got no relationship to China, he goes ahead and plays for China. You know, I mean, it's sort of like a basketball team. They just put on whoever they want.
I always thought it was interesting. So FP Senior, my dad, who played Major League Baseball, got asked to play for Team Italy once in the Olympics when baseball was in the Olympics. And he's never been to Italy in his life. And he's actually third generation Italian. So his great grandparents were the ones that came over from Italy. And we're an Italian family. Don't get me wrong. Like, we are very strong in our cultural values that came from Italy. We're obviously very Americanized now, but I thought it was always
what part of the boot?
Yeah, exactly. But I always thought it was really interesting that he could play for Team Italy, being like basically a second generation. I think it was the second generation because you have to be a second generation to be able to play for another country. But yeah, I thought it was so bizarre because I'm like, you've never even been there. You don't even speak Italian. How can you go play for Team Italy? But I thought it would have been really cool still to represent his culture, you know, our culture in a way. But yeah, that's very interesting.
Well, I think then we should all go back. Basically, didn't we all kind of come from Africa? You know, from the way back.
Yeah, I think that's why they have the two generation rule. So
yeah, exactly.
Grandparents have to be born in Italy or.
But that's out of kind of reach. Hey, your name ends in a vowel. Go play for us.
Yeah, you have Greek letters in the alphabet.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it was it Uruguay? The entire soccer team ends in OV, the last names. I think that's what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. that was some years ago. Okay, so I read this. The United States is prepared to bring criminal proceedings against Russia over the Winter Olympic drug testing surrounding 15-year-old figure skater Kamila Valieva. And so here's the interesting thing. So she got disqualified because she took heart medication. And you think, okay, well, that's kind of like the old Rick DeMont issue
on the banned substance list,
on
right?
The banned substance, yeah, because way back in 1972, Rick DeMont, who came from our hometown in Terra Linda, excuse me,
a great swimmer.
Great swimmer. He won.
In fact, his brother Ken DeMont coached two of my boys.
Ah, okay. So he wins the gold medal, and here, you know, our little sleepy town here, we're just going crazy excitement, right? Well, he gets it taken away because he was taking asthma medicine, but he really had asthma. But apparently, he was on the banned substance list even back then. And but with this young lady, she doesn't have a heart condition. She was just taking the medication that someone gave her purposely because apparently, I guess it helps increase the lung capacity or something. And so apparently,
is that like players for taking cough medicine?
yeah, really. So here's the deal: is that she is disqualified, but not like so much because of her age. They said it might be harmful for her in the future. Now you gotta. What's that?
15, right? Is that the
15?
age?
Yeah. So I guess they're kind of looking and going, well, maybe some adults gave it to her and she didn't really know what she was doing. So she can still participate, but she can't get a medal.
Okay.
Something crazy like that, you know, which is kind of weird because what do they do then? Give it to second place? But I think it's a team issue that she still gets to participate. But it's all funky though. It's like, you know, I mean, either you have the banned substances or you don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you either do or you don't.
Yeah. I mean, if she really had a heart condition, then I'd say, you know, maybe you kind of make an exception. Sort of like, who's the golfer? Was it Corey? Somebody who he had.
Corey Pavin?
No. Okay, now who was the one who used to have to use a golf cart?
Oh, Casey.
Casey, not Corey. That was pretty close. Yeah, Casey.
Not Casey Strand, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
right.
And so it's sort of like, okay, well, they make an exception because he had a disability, But then, a lot of the other golfers were going, well, wait a minute, it's kind of like overcompensating, because walking a course is quite big a difference than, being able to use a golf cart. Sort of like how Mahomes was running around so much that he was gassed by the fourth quarter on the Kansas City game, So anyway, what do you guys think about, the penalty or non-penalty, because of her age?
I haven't been watching the Olympics, so I
haven't watched it.
And I would say this, that the Olympics is featuring more about, when you hear people talking about the Olympics, it's more about stuff like this than what's actually going on in the athletic performances.
True.
Everyone's talking about all these side issues about China and their human rights stuff and the controversies about, drugs and all that stuff. And nobody's actually talking about who's winning gold medals or not.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a weird censorship for some reason with this Olympic. I don't know if it's because of tensions with China, but I really haven't heard much about it. I've seen a clip or two, and that's it. And I work for NBC. They're hosting it. We don't even really promote it on any of our shows, which is
apparently it's like what, $6 million or $3 million, $6 million for a 30-second commercial, and the viewership is just down like crazy. For some reason, doesn't this Olympics kind of remind you of the 1936 one in Berlin with Hitler? A little bit, doesn't it kind of remind you a little bit of that?
What?
Doesn't this Olympics kind of remind you a little bit of Hitler in the 36 Olympics? It's like,
I wasn't around, so I
know, but you see film clips, and you know what the future held. 3 years later, he invades Poland and starts World War II. Mm-hmm. But you kind of go, okay, here you got a country that's hosting, just like Berlin hosted the 36 Olympics.
Yeah, but China is not coming off like some kind of grand empire with all of this. People are complaining about the food, they're complaining about the accommodations, they're complaining about everything about it. At least, I'm not trying to make Hitler sound good, because that was an awful situation, but Germany made everything over the top and super deluxe to try to show what an amazing country they are. And China is not coming off like they're an amazing country right now.
Yeah, I just get this weird feeling that this whole Olympics is just propaganda central, whether it's for China or against China. Like you don't even ever hear anything good. There's no feel good stories. The only one I heard was Shaun White crying and crying. And I didn't really even see that clip. So I just saw some people quickly tweet about it. But yeah, I just feel like this whole Olympic sport, this whole Olympic event is just propaganda for both sides. So I've just been tuned out of it.
There's not going to be another Asian Olympics for the majority of our lifetime. Maybe for you, FP, but for me and Vern and Edward, we're probably not going to see an Asian-based Olympics for the vast majority of our lives.
How many years in advance do they prepare?
They've got another 10. They've got another 20 years, I think, in the books.
Hey, I want to live more than 20 years. Stop that. Well, so do you already know ahead of time? Like you?
Yeah. You can go to Wikipedia and they'll show you all the different places. It's going to be in Italy and France and Australia, and so they're not going to be anywhere near Asia, which was something that they actually had quite a few games in the Asian countries, and obviously, there's difficulties with all of that stuff.
Yeah, are you talking about Olympics in general or just the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, Olympics in general.
Okay, because Australia, you'd have to go in the summertime in order for it to be the winter time, and I don't know if they have any skiing in Australia.
What's really funny? I'm more locked in on the NFL game that's going to happen.
The games are in Paris. Milan, Italy will have the Winter Olympics in 2026. So 2028 comes to Los Angeles. 2030 to be determined. And 2032 Brisbane. So
oh boy,
interesting why they to be determined and then Brisbane. But go ahead, FP.
I don't. 2030 would be the Winter Olympics, and it's a to be determined site.
Gotcha. Okay, FP, go ahead.
I would just say I'm more locked in on who's going to play in Munich, Germany for the NFL game. I think it's really interesting how the NFL is really trying to go global domination with their sport. And you know what? I thought the National Basketball Association was going to do a good job with that, but they really haven't had any games overseas. And basketball is huge overseas.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
Something happened with China, FP. Something happened because each year it was like a foreign exchange program. NBA doing a lot with China and vice versa. There were camps over there at all levels, for all ages, and then all of a sudden, somebody said something in the NBA, and it all changed.
James is his last name James?
No, I thought it was an exec with the Houston Rockets.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and it all changed. All relations changed.
But he talked about the human rights issues and all
that.
But it all started. It's funny. I think I got to think that it all started with Yao Ming. Like the rise of China basketball. Right. Hey guys, we're going to cut to our last commercial break here. Again, we're talking hard trivia questions for the Super Bowl. Which two quarterbacks, and this is prior to the year 2000, are the only two quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl and then lose a Super Bowl the following year? That's a good one.
Win a Super Bowl and then lose one the next year.
The following year. All right. Which two quarterbacks, and this is prior to 2000, are the only two quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl and then lose a Super Bowl the following year? All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be back with some closing comments. Do not touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Jackman. Here's our third trivia question. Which two quarterbacks, and this is prior to the year 2000, are the only two quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl and then lose a Super Bowl the following year?
Trying to remember if Brett Favre is one of them.
Brett Favre, that is correct. He beat the Patriots and then he lost to Denver. Okay, that was one. Who's the other one?
Peyton Manning?
No. That was never. This is before the year 2000.
This is before the year 2000.
Because I was thinking there might be somebody afterward. I think the Peyton was.
Elway?
No, that would have been a good guess too. No, Joe.
Bob Greasy?
No, because remember he lost. Then he won. Joe Theismann. He beat the Dolphins, and then he lost to the Raiders.
That's right.
Remember that?
Super Bowl.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, I get 50% credit.
All right, we covered a lot of good stuff today. You ready for our thoughts for the day?
Go.
Why do wood carvings take so long? And this is more of an Elmer Fudd thing. Because they have to be done whittle by whittle.
Great. Great one.
And to the thief who took my antidepressants, I hope you're happy. All right, tune in next week too. What's he got? Oh, we got smiles and laughs all over the place. I know how's it going. All right, tune in next week, Sports Econ 101. Excuse me. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We will see you next week.
Good night, America.
Adios. Adios.